Welcome inside the War Room. I'm your host, Andrew Valancourt, and we're back today for episode 82 of the Dynasty War Room podcast. On today's show, we're going to play some Dynasty Would You Rather. So I have 10 different questions about which player you would rather have on your Dynasty team moving forward. And so before we get into that, I want to remind everyone, as always, make sure you are following this podcast on your platform of choice. Or on everything out there, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, you name it, we're there. So go make sure you are following along so you don't miss any future shows. And find us on social media. We are on Twitter or X at Dynasty War Room. You can find me there as well at Andrew Vcourt. You can check out our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. Both are at Dynasty War Room. And we'll be happy to follow along, answer any questions you may have throughout the Dynasty calendar, and interact with you over there. So one more quick message as per usual. Download Fast Draft. It's a new fantasy best ball app. Use code WARROOM, all one word, WARROOM, and you'll get up to $50 fully matched when you deposit and play through any of their different contests. They have all kinds of different drafts going on, fun contests throughout the year. It doesn't have to just be in the summer before the NFL season begins, so there are options to go play now. Again, that's on Fast Draft using code WARROOM, all one word. All right, so let's get into some Dynasty Would You Rather. It's something that I think is an interesting exercise to go through when you look at, the general consensus rankings. I personally, from time to time, will check in on Keep Trade Cut because it's just a solid Dynasty resource. It's free. Users can input their own opinions which are used then to create these rankings across the entire industry. So it's a good gauge of where the public is at on certain players. So what I've done today is I've gone through and I have picked out 20 players in total, but we're matching them up. So 10 different questions. They're all who would you rather have in Dynasty on your teams, and they're players that are either directly back-to-back in the overall rankings or within just a few spots. So these are players that are generally valued about the exact same. They're viewed in similar tiers, and I think they present some interesting questions, whether it is within the same position or across positions, or even we have a couple situations today where players that are on their own, the same team, we're going to be comparing. So I think it's a fun little exercise, and we're going to kick things off with some players, younger guys here. The first guy has been really on fire to start his young rookie career, although his team had pretty much the biggest meltdown that I have ever seen in an NFL game, and that would be New York Giants quarterback Jackson Dart. He is the quarterback 13 overall on Keep Trade Cut, the number 43 player in totality. He is 22.4 years old, and my question is, would you rather have Jackson Dart or LA Chargers wide receiver Ladd McConkey, who's wide receiver 16, number 44 overall, and he's 23.9 years old. So Ladd McConkey coming off an incredible rookie season. Jackson Dart, the new hotness at QB. He's looked pretty good. He can run the ball. He is mobile. And Ladd McConkey, however, taken a bit of a minor step back from his explosive rookie season. Hasn't quite lit the world on fire, but still a solid, productive player that I think the Dynasty community is rightfully very high on. And Jackson Dart is the player that is one spot ahead of McConkey in Keep Trade Cut's overall rankings. However, my choice between these two would be Ladd McConkey. So this to me is one of those questions that, how early are you willing to buy in on a player? And so I don't want to necessarily say that I'm not bought in on Jackson Dart because I think I see the vision. He's off to a good start. This is a Giants team that needs a playmaker at quarterback. He's got good weapons. Malik Neighbors is out right now, of course, with an injury and will be back next year. So the future is very, very bright for Jackson Dart. So this could be a question that, I look back on a year from now and be like, wow, the obvious answer should have been Jackson Dart because he's now, a top 25 player. We're talking about a, top 2 round startup pick. That is in the range of outcomes for Jackson Dart. However, also in the range of outcomes is that this is more of a flash in the pan. There's a coaching change after the season. It's just another rebuild for New York. I still think that, given what we've seen, he is going to be the guy, at least for the next few seasons, even if they do end up changing coaches. But as of right now, I don't know that Brian Daboll is going to be canned. Kind of think he gets another year with Jackson Dart to be the full-time starter. But Ladd McConkey is someone that I view as a future top 12 receiver on a yearly basis. It's clearly been a bit of a step back in year 2. Keenan Allen returned to the Chargers. He's kind of turned into their number 1 receiver. Quentin Johnston has been great. Oronde Gadsden is breaking out. So I feel like I'm almost talking myself out of the pick, but I do believe that come next year, Ladd McConkey will be back as the number 1 overall receiver on that team and as a top 12 guy in the league. I don't necessarily believe that a top 5 overall finish at the position is in the range of outcomes, but certainly a low-end wide receiver 1, like he was last year, I think is where he can be moving forward. And so given the relative uncertainty with a rookie at quarterback in Jackson Dart, I'll take what I feel is a more surefire, good player, just a high-level asset to have on your dynasty team. However, I think this is something that I could look back on and be like, oh man, I made the wrong choice. Generally speaking, you'd rather have a quarterback in a startup position, for example, but just in a vacuum, I'm still taking my guy, Ladd McConkey. I've been on him for a few months. I was really high on him, of course, during the offseason, as most people were. I'm not ready to give that up yet for a rookie that we've seen for only a handful of games. Next up on our list, would you rather have New York Giants rookie running back Cam Skattebo or Breece Hall from the New York Jets? So we got 2 running backs that if you would have told pretty much anyone prior to the season, hey, we're going to be comparing these two, I think there'd be a lot of surprised looks. Skattebo has been awesome. Ever since he took over the job with Tyron Tracy getting hurt, he's been unbelievable. He is the RB14 on Keep Trade Cut and the number 52 player overall. He's 23.6 years old. Breece Hall, running back 15, overall number 53, and he's 24.3. So back-to-back in the rankings at their position and overall, less than a year apart in age, and I'm taking Cam Skattebo. This is something where Breece Hall, we almost need him to be traded for his value to even stay where it is moving forward. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, so obviously, what happens there will have a large impact on his overall dynasty value, but rest of season, the answer is clearly Skattebo. I think that we're talking about a guy, he's top 10 already. I believe he's the running back 8, and I don't see that stopping. And Breece Hall is not somebody that's in the top 10 right now. He's, borderline RB2. The offense is really, really struggling for the Jets. That is a really bad team. And, things at the quarterback position, very unstable. Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields, who's going to be. I just don't love that situation. Now, if Breece Hall gets traded and he ends up with a Washington or an Arizona or some team that has a solid offense that needs a running back, then I think this becomes a much more interesting conversation. But I've seen enough out of Cam Skattebo. I mean, this is a player that I liked a lot coming into the draft. He clearly can handle the workload and is a good enough runner to be, a full workhorse back in the NFL. And that's just such a valuable thing to have in Dynasty. And just the vibes are bad with Breece Hall. And so I'll take the guy in Cam Skattebo where everything is just pointing up. All right, next up, we have another positional battle. And we're going to shift over to the QB position where I want to talk about, would you rather have Houston Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud or Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott? Stroud is QB 14, player 56 overall. He's 24.0 years old. Dak Prescott, the QB 16 and the number 58 overall player on Keep Trade Cut. He's 32.2 years old. Brock Purdy actually sandwiches these two. He's right in the middle at QB 15 on Keep Trade Cut. I would put Purdy behind both Stroud and Prescott, so I wanted to go with Stroud and Prescott as the more interesting discussion to me. And Stroud obviously has the age on his side, 8 years younger. That's a huge difference in Dynasty. He had an incredible rookie season, but he has been pretty awful since. I mean, he's not looked good. The O-line in Houston is atrocious. They can't keep him up. The receivers have suffered from this as well. Nico Collins off to a slower start. The rookie receivers out of Iowa State, slow starts. I mean, it's bad vibes all around. We talk about bad vibes with Breece Hall. It is bad vibes in Houston with that offense. CJ Stroud just doesn't look like the same player he was when he was a rookie. I don't know how they turn things around, but it clearly is going to take a pretty major overhaul of that O-line in the offseason. Maybe there's a coaching or offensive coordinator change, although there was just an OC change in the offseason, so I don't know how much difference that will make. But you never know. Dak Prescott, on the other hand, 8 years older, but he's looked awesome. He's been on fire. He's a top 10 quarterback, and if you've had him on your dynasty teams, you have been very, very happy. You probably are in a playoff spot right now, and you're feeling great. So this is really, I think, a difference between, do you want the win-now player that is producing but is older versus the young, big name, but the fantasy output just isn't there. I'm going to go with Dak Prescott. I'll take the older veteran that is, producing at a top 5 level. And there's a few different reasons for this. Number one, obviously you can't argue with the current production. Moving forward, rest of season, I would have Dak many, many spots ahead of CJ Stroud in redraft rankings. But even over the next couple seasons, Dak Prescott, yeah, he's 32, but he's going to play at least 3 to 5 more seasons. And we've seen quarterbacks play till they're 40. I mean, we got all kinds of those guys playing lately. So there's nothing to say that, Dak Prescott is just a 1-2 year type of guy. I mean, I would bank on another 5 years of Dak Prescott as a starting quarterback. And this Dallas offense is very, very good. You have elite receivers, Lamb and Pickens, Ferguson's there, tight end, Javonte Williams. It's been a good offense. I mean, they're one of the best in the league. The defense is bad. And so for fantasy, everything really lines up for what we're looking for in a quarterback. So, it would be nice if he ran the ball more, sure, but he's throwing for 1 million yards and a bunch of touchdowns, so it really doesn't matter a lot. I love what I'm seeing out of Dak Prescott. I would take him over Stroud. And so even though there is an age difference, there is no guarantee that CJ Stroud gets a second contract. He probably will, but I don't know that anybody's going to feel great about it if it comes at the end of this season and he's playing the way he is. So yeah, you might only get 5 years out of Dak Prescott, but who's to say you get 5 full years of CJ Stroud as a starter? You're not going to if he's playing the way he is now. So I'll take the veteran in Dak Prescott over CJ Stroud. All right, so one more same position discussion here. So would you rather have Green Bay Packers tight end Tucker Kraft or Detroit Lions tight end Sam Laporta? Tucker Kraft is the tight end 4 and the number 46 player overall on Keep Trade Cut. He's 24.9 years old. Sam Laporta is tight end 5 and the number 47 overall player on Keep Trade Cut. He's 24.7. So practically the same age. They're back-to-back in both the position and overall rankings. And this is a really tough one for me because I like both players a ton. You've heard me talk about Tucker Kraft ever since this podcast began as a sleeper, somebody that I think is an upper echelon tight end in this league. And he's really had a breakout season this year. He's taken his good season from last year and built on that. He's had a couple huge weeks. And he looks like the guy in Green Bay. He's essentially their number one target, which is what the hope was coming into the season, given the kind of mess that they have at wide receiver. And so Tucker Kraft, I think there's a ton to like. But Sam Laporta, while he's not the number one target on his team, is just a solid, proven dude. He was the number one overall player at his position as a rookie. I don't think he's at that point. That was an awesome season. I don't think we're going to see another number one overall finish out of him. However, I think he's one of those players that is going to consistently be in the top 10, can be in the top 5 on a year-to-year basis. I think you're going to get spike weeks out of both Laporta and Kraft. And while I like that Kraft is the number one target, I'll take Jared Goff over Jordan Love from a real life, who can feed their targets better. Not to say that Jordan Love can't do that. He's been perfectly fine. But I like the situation with the Lions offense. I want pieces there. And so I will take Sam Laporta despite my love for Tucker Kraft. I would have them 4 and 5 in my rankings at tight end. I would just have them flipped. Again, very, very close. I think having them back-to-back is exactly right. But if I had to take one, I'm taking what I feel like is the safer option in Laporta. But again, that's nothing against Kraft. I think he's great and is somebody that I would still love to have on as many teams as possible. So, in fact, Laporta and Kraft are probably two of my most rostered tight ends. I have numerous shares of both of these guys across my many Dynasty leagues. I feel great about it. And, you just plug them in your lineup. They're good. You don't have to worry about it. Are they McBride or Bowers? No. But they're, the next best thing. I feel great having those guys. And but for Would You Rather, I would take Sam Laporta if I had to choose. All right, so let's switch over to a pair of teammates at different positions that I think presents a very interesting debate. So we're going to talk about a pair of Chicago Bears. And we'll start with wide receiver Rome Odunze, the wide receiver 10 and the number 26 overall player on Keep Trade Cut. He's 23.3 years old, and he is one spot ahead of his quarterback, Caleb Williams, who's the QB 9 and the number 27 overall player at 23.9 years old. Now, this is fascinating to me because I was a little bit surprised when I saw Rome Odunze ahead of Caleb Williams. It's rare, I think, that you see, what is supposed to be the franchise quarterback who's been fairly good for fantasy this year outside of his dud this past week. Caleb Williams has been solid. And Rome Odunze has been pretty good as well, but he has come down to earth a bit after the really hot start to the season. And so I would rather have Caleb Williams. I would rather have the QB in this spot in a Superflex league. I think, you can't. It's a bit of the opposite argument. I know it's going to sound funny where I took Ladd McConkey over Jackson Dart, and here I am taking the quarterback in Caleb Williams over Rome Odunze. But it's just a situation where I feel more comfortable with the quarterback. We've seen a full season and a half now of Caleb Williams. Rome Odunze off to a very good start this year, but still had that slower beginning to his career. So it's kind of the opposite in a way where I'm taking the more proven guy to me, the one that feels a little bit safer. And that might not be true. I mean, Rome Odunze might end up being the safer option long term, but I still have really liked the potential with Caleb Williams. And so I'm going to take him in this spot because of the position value. And, Rome Odunze kind of depends on Caleb Williams. Like if Caleb Williams falls apart, Rome Odunze is going to take a massive hit in dynasty rankings as well. Certainly he'd be able to hang around for whoever comes next, whether that's with Chicago or somebody else, etc. But they're kind of tied to each other. And so I'll take the QB. I just think the positional value is more important. I think he has flashed the right amount of potential to show that he's the long-term guy. And I like both. Don't get me wrong. This is a very difficult decision, as most of these are, which, again, makes sense because of where they're ranked. But I'm going to take the quarterback in Caleb Williams. All right, next up, we're going to move on to something that, preseason would have sounded great. Now sounds terrible for both players involved in this question. So, would you rather have Pittsburgh Steelers running back Caleb Johnson or Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Chris Godwin? Caleb Johnson, the running back 36 overall, and the number 150 player on the board on Keep Trade Cut. He's 22.1 years old. Chris Godwin, the wide receiver 53, and the number 153 player overall. So 3 spots behind Johnson. He's 29.6 years old. Now, injuries have obviously played a huge role in Chris Godwin's current ranking. Whereas Caleb Johnson's ranking is because he simply can't get on the field. He's only gotten a handful of carries. I don't even think he's hit 10 fantasy points total on the entire season, all the games combined. So that should tell you pretty much everything you need to know about Caleb Johnson. But Chris Godwin, 7 years older, continuing to battle injuries, versus a third-round pick on a team where you would think the depth chart is, climbable, with Gainwell as the number 2 and Jaylen Warren as the 1. But I am taking Chris Godwin here. I can't take a player in Johnson who very well is somebody that might just be complete total bust. Might never be on the field, never command a workhorse back type of role, and he can't even hang on to the kickoff returns. I mean, he lost that job. He's getting mop-up duty and blowouts. It's bad for Caleb Johnson. I mean, the fact that he is still RB 36 on Keep Trade Cut is pretty wild to me. He has not shown anything to warrant that ranking besides the draft capital. So it's a tough spot, because if you're a player that drafted him, you're not really going to want to give him up. You're not going to be looking to get off of him because you're going to take a huge hit. I don't know that you could get a second-round pick for Caleb Johnson, and trading him for a third-round pick, which you could probably get, I think just would feel really bad. So Chris Godwin is a player that I would prefer to have. Sure, he's banged up right now, but he should come back in the next few weeks. And Mike Evans is done for the season. Emeka Egbuka has been a little bit banged up, although he did play against Detroit. But Chris Godwin can easily step right back into a top 2 wide receiver role, and he signed a contract extension. So if you can swing a Caleb Johnson for Chris Godwin trade, I would definitely take the Godwin side. I think he's got some productive fantasy weeks ahead of him, and I'll take the year, 1 to 2 years of potential value with Godwin over what could just be a total waste, despite the age difference with Caleb Johnson. All right, so another set of teammates, and this time it's a tight end and a running back from the same team. So let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Tight end Jake Ferguson, the tight end 6 and the number 85 overall player on Keep Trade Cut. He is 26.7 years old, and he is matched up here with Javonte Williams, running back 18, and the number 86 overall player on Keep Trade Cut. He is 25.4 years old, so a full year younger than Jake Ferguson. And Ferguson has been awesome. He has been a PPR monster, especially in tight end premium leagues. You have not been disappointed with Jake Ferguson. And again, this kind of goes back to what we talked about with Dak, where the offense is great. The defense is terrible. And having a piece of this offense, whether it's with Ferguson or Williams or Lamb, Dak, whoever it is, feels good. And so Ferguson has been a really bright spot at the tight end position, somebody that was drafted, at a much lower position than where he's producing. Javonte Williams, the same thing can be said. He was drafted a whole lot lower than running back 18 entering the season, and now here he is, top 10 guy, lighting the world on fire. Surely looks like he's in a position to get a second contract with the Dallas Cowboys, which is a very, very valuable role for fantasy football. And for that reason, I would rather have Javonte Williams. Again, it's nothing against Jake Ferguson. I think he's great. I think tight end 6 is a little bit high. And Javonte Williams, I think, is finally reaching the potential that we saw with him as a rookie coming into the league. Tackle breaker, he's got good speed, he can make guys miss, and he's a workhorse. He's a couple years removed now from the really bad knee injury, and he finally looks like he is playing at 100% health, and he's got a great situation over there in Dallas. So the age doesn't really factor into this decision, because for a tight end, you can play, well into your 30s. Javonte Williams, he does have the age advantage, but running backs and their shorter careers, again, Ferguson probably plays a little bit longer, but I think you have a good, several year window for Javonte Williams, a good 3 years, I think, with him, if he can continue this, get that follow-up contract with Dallas. And I'm willing to take that risk over Ferguson, despite his great production. Again, it's just finding good, talented 3-down pass-catching running backs is so difficult to do. And Javonte Williams has been a late-round gem, and I would take him in this pairing of Dallas Cowboys. All right, so we got 3 different questions left. So we'll start here with, would you rather have Carolina Panthers quarterback Bryce Young or Indianapolis Colts wide receiver Michael Pittman? Bryce Young is the QB 25, the number 103 player overall. He's 24.2 years old, compared to Michael Pittman, who is the wide receiver 36 and the number 105 player overall on Keep Trade Cut. He is 28.0 years old. And Bryce Young, banged up. He's going to miss, at least this week, he's probably going to miss several games with the recent injury that he suffered. I believe it's an ankle injury. And so Andy Dalton will be stepping in for the Panthers. He's looked okay, but it's, again, we talked about the rough start he had to the season. Turnovers kind of remain to be a problem for Bryce Young. The size, the stature has been kind of an issue for him just as a smaller quarterback. He doesn't run a lot. He can move around a little bit. But he's done enough. Carolina with 4 wins, they've turned things around. And, oh man, excuse me. It's been a long day here, so we got a little yawn here on the podcast. But Bryce Young is just somebody that, if you've been listening to this show for a while, you know that I have not really been a big believer in him. I'm not encouraged by what I've seen. Whereas Michael Pittman, he had the really down year last year, but he has roared back with Daniel Jones. He's reestablished himself as the number 1 receiver on that team. And sure, 4 years older, but I'm going to take Michael Pittman here. I want the guy that can be an every week starter in my lineup. And I'm not sure what Bryce Young's long-term future is. If I were the GM of the Panthers, I would not be giving him a second contract. Obviously, that's going to feel like a waste given the draft capital that they gave up to get him. But I'm not sold that he's the long-term answer, and I certainly wouldn't be giving him some, 5-year, $200 million contract or something ridiculous. I just wouldn't do it. If you want to do the franchise tag route, I could see that being an option for them, but I don't know what the future holds. Whereas Michael Pittman, I know I got a couple seasons here before he hits age 30 where he can be an every week starter, whether it's at receiver, at flex. I feel really good about the Colts situation now with Daniel Jones, who certainly looks like he will be returning to that team. So I'm going to take Pittman. I want the immediate production. I want the rest of season boost. I just feel better about guys that are playing well, and I prefer Pittman. My hate or my distrust of Bryce Young has been made well known, and so I feel like it's only right that I take Pittman over Young here. All right, so staying at the quarterback position, we got a pair of quarterbacks here near the top of the rankings that I think present a very interesting question. So I'm going to talk about 2 guys. Number 1, Drake May. So would you rather have Drake May, the New England Patriots second-year quarterback, or Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagle Jalen Hurts? So Drake May is the QB 4 and the number 14 overall player on Keep Trade Cut. He's 23.1 years old. Jalen Hurts is the QB 5 and the number 15 overall player at age 27.1. Now, this is a really, really interesting question because, again, if you had asked this question in the offseason, the answer, of course, would have been Jalen Hurts. However, Drake May off to a really, really good start for New England, which has turned things around under Mike Vrabel. They're looking like a playoff team, division contender in the AFC East. And Drake May has shown that not only can he throw the ball, he can run. He's making better decisions than he did last year. And the run game has been a little bit better there as well, even though Trayvon Henderson hasn't been able to get on the field, which hopefully will change. But, Stephon Diggs has been helpful to him. Kayshon Boutte has been great. So the O-line has made a lot of big improvements as well. So everything just all around for New England We talk about other teams where the vibes are bad. The vibes are good in New England right now. And so Drake May, certainly deserving of that QB4 ranking. But Jalen Hurts, the QB5, has been a mainstay among the top quarterbacks. He's a true elite running quarterback. He gets you those goal line touchdowns, and he can get it done on the big stage. He can still throw the ball quite well when he actually gets the opportunities. We've seen a little bit more of that the past few weeks, but this is a guy that likes to run the ball, and the passing yards are never going to be a huge number for him, but it's a tough call because you want that rushing floor and the high upside that comes with it in a running quarterback. But I am going to side with the rankings. I'm going to take Drake May. And a few different reasons. Number one, I do think the age gap here is more significant. Drake May, at age 23, has his entire career ahead of him. Jalen Hurts, at 27, still has a number of great years ahead of him. However, running quarterbacks lose their skill set much faster than pocket passers. Jalen Hurts is not a guy that I'm expecting to be playing quarterback at age 39. I mean, this is a guy that I expect more of a Cam Newton type of fade out for him. So once he hits, age 30, things could drop really, really fast for Jalen Hurts. So I don't know exactly how long he's going to have. It's hard to say now because he still looks great. He's still young. He's in his prime. So he should have a couple solid years atop the QB position at a minimum. But Drake May is somebody that I think can do enough to where he's going to be a top 5 QB, and you get the extra years. I don't think you have to worry about him being a guy that can't play well into his 30s. And the tush push is another aspect where Jalen Hurts gets a lot of fantasy points from that tush push at the goal line. If the NFL makes changes in the offseason to eliminate that, they almost did this past year. I think it's more likely that gets done following this season, and that would be very harmful to Jalen Hurts' dynasty value because that would take away a number of rushing touchdowns. Now, is he capable of still running in the ball, to the end zone other ways? Absolutely. But it's a little bit tougher, of course, than the QB sneak and the tush push, and I think that's enough to scare me into siding with the young guy in Drake May, where I'm fully bought in. I'm all aboard the hype train for Drake May, and so I'm going to take him over Jalen Hurts. All right, now our final question of the day is two younger players that, one hasn't done a lot due to injury, one hasn't done a lot due to what appears to be scheme, despite getting paid in the offseason. So, would you rather have Detroit Lions wide receiver Jameson Williams or Chicago Bears tight end Colston Loveland? Jameson Williams is the number 32 wide receiver and the number 87 overall player on Keep Trade Cut. He's 24 and a half years old. Colston Loveland is the tight end 8 and the number 89 overall player on Keep Trade Cut. He is only 21 and a half years old. So, two young guys. A lot of hype, a lot of potential with both of these players. Jameson Williams has got his big second contract. Colston Loveland, I think, is due for a breakout. He's battled some injuries. He missed time in the summer. He's missed games. He's been sharing time with Cole Kmet. But Cole Kmet got dinged up a bit this past weekend, and Loveland appears to finally be back to full strength. So my expectations are high that Loveland will have a nice couple weeks here, and he gets the Baltimore defense, so that's going to be helpful to him as well. And Jameson Williams, we saw it last year that he is an electric player. He's a big-time touchdown guy. He is somebody that would be incredible to have in a best ball league, maybe less fun to have in a managed league because there have been times this year where it is difficult to start him. Didn't do anything against Tampa this past week. So I can understand why people would be a little bit hesitant about both of these players right now. And I am going to side with Colston Loveland. I would have Loveland a spot or two higher than tight end 8. I was a huge believer in the draft process. I had him ranked very high, even a spot above Tyler Warren, which I think now everyone has probably come to see that Warren certainly deserves to be ranked ahead of Loveland at this point. I loved both players. I was never an anti-Warren guy. I think I was just extremely high on Colston Loveland, and I still like him a lot. But I think it's become clear that he belongs behind Warren and some of those other tight ends at the top in Laporta, Tucker Kraft. But I would have him behind those two guys, and I still believe in the potential. I like Caleb Williams. Ben Johnson's got things figured out a bit in Chicago after the slow start, and tight ends in the past usually don't get off to blazing hot starts. It's been a very, very unique situation the past couple seasons with Brock Bowers and Sam Laporta, where they come out on fire. That is not something that is typical. That does not happen often. And so a player taking a little bit longer to get into things, especially when there's already an established veteran, Cole Kmet, I think makes a lot of sense. I still think that Jameson Williams is going to give you some great weeks. He signed a huge contract, so he's obviously not going to become just irrelevant. But the risk that comes with starting him week to week is something that I would not enjoy having to deal with as a manager. I don't think I have any shares of Jameson Williams on any of my teams. I wasn't super high on him coming out. And so, we've gotten a lot of good, we've gotten a lot of bad. I think he's a very talented player, but in Dynasty, especially in tight end premium in particular, if we're talking just pure PPR, no tight end premium, I'd probably go JMO. But in tight end premium leagues, which I think the majority of Dynasty leagues are, I would prefer Colston Loveland, and I would just prefer the upside at the tight end position, which can be really, really impactful when you hit. So there you have it. Those are 10 would you rather questions for Dynasty moving forward. Just a fun little thing to do here as we approach the midway point of the NFL season. We've got a couple fun episodes coming up. We're going to do a rookie draft redo where we go through the top 24 picks in a rookie mock draft. And we'll probably do that, I would imagine, around week 10 or so. So at some point in the next few weeks, we'll get into that. I think that'll be a really interesting episode because a lot has changed. And so it's important to take a look back, see how the rookie class has evolved now that we have at least half a season in the books. And before we know it, we will be approaching the fantasy football trade deadline and the fantasy football playoffs. So a whole lot more to come as we get deeper and deeper into the NFL season. So thank you all very much for tuning in. I appreciate it. You have been listening to the Dynasty War Room podcast, and I'm your host, Andrew Valancourt.